For today's cup of coffee, we're going to be talking about kids' genre. Not my genre, their genre. I don't know. Maybe it's like below those of us from Gen X that it hit in that genre.
Zombies.
Yeah,
that's the zombies.
Absolutely.
Zombies.
So, I don't know. How
is that not your generation? You came from the generation of zombies. The 80s was like the era of zombie movies.
No, it really wasn't. Because, like I said, I am very much of the vampire bunch.
Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead.
I saw them. And it was just like, yeah,
There's
okay.
A lot of Brain Dead.
I think it's Gen Z. But anyhow.
Well, there was another name for it, but that's a weird one. It's like an English zombie movie, but it has two titles and it's known by two titles.
I don't know.
It's hard to keep track of it, but over here I think it's Brain Dead.
That could be anybody these days.
It's a movie, damn it.
I don't know. I think it's reality, but we'll get to that. We're going to get to that. Anyhow, a little bit of the history from the zombies. And the sources I'm using today, I've got two of them from Wikipedia and one of them that is from Zombie Fandom. Who knew what a thing that was? And then I actually am going to put in the description link a YouTube video that is the man. When I get to that section, I'll name his name and stuff, but it's like there's part of this that I have studied for many years. Seriously.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyhow.
But that was not your generation. That was not your thing.
No, it's a part of this that goes in with this. This is complicated.
All
not
right.
really, but you know, I have tried to make it easy. The English word zombie is first recorded in 1819 in a history of Brazil by poet Robert Southey in the form of zombi, actually referring to the Afro-Brazilian rebel leader named Zumbi. And in Haitian folklore, a zombie is an animated corpse raised by magical means such as witchcraft.
Yep.
The concept has been popularly associated with the religion of voodoo, but it plays no part in the faith's formal practices.
Yeah.
So, how the creatures in the contemporary zombie films came to be called zombies is not fully clear. The film Night of the Living Dead made no spoken reference to its undead antagonist as zombies.
Yeah, they were just referred to as the Walking Dead.
Well, describing them instead as ghouls. But for me, ghouls are different than zombies.
Oh, yeah.
And it says that ghouls here derive actually from Arabic folklore and are demons, not undead. Although George Romero used the term ghoul in his original scripts, in later interviews he used the term zombie. The word zombie is used exclusively by Romero in his script for his sequel, Dawn of the Dead, including once in dialogue. According to George Romero, film critics were influential in associating the term zombie to his creatures, especially a French magazine. He eventually accepted this linkage, even though he remained convinced at the time that zombies corresponded to the undead slaves of Haitian voodoo as depicted in White Zombie with Bela Lugosi.
Mm-hmm. That was a good movie.
It is a good movie. It's a little slow, but it's a pretty good movie.
It's really slow.
Zombies were featured widely in Haitian rural folklore as dead persons physically revived by the act of necromancy of a bokar, or a sorcerer or witch.
Mm-hmm.
A zombie remains under the control of the bokar as a personal slave having no will of its own.
Nope, none.
The Haitian tradition also includes a zombie astral, which is a part of the human soul. A bokar can capture a zombie astral to enhance his spiritual power. A zombie astral can also be sealed inside a specifically decorated bottle by a bokar and sold to a client to bring luck, healing, or business success. It is believed that God eventually will reclaim the zombie's soul, so the zombie is a temporary spiritual entity. That's weird. But there was some movie I saw that was very much had, the bokar on it. and that he had in his basement all these shelves and shelves of these souls trapped in these bottles and jars.
In all honesty, that's pretty cool.
I don't know what the movie was, but it was actually a good movie.
I'm still trying to find that one movie that the women sort of acted. There was this one woman who was on the roof of a building or whatever, and she was acting like a cat, and then tried to jump off, and then fell to her death. And in the same movie, this one lady was laying on a table with this cloth around her eyes, and then like she jumps up, she rips the cloth off of her eyes, and her eyes are kind of fucked up or whatever, and she bumps into this light. I remember it clearly. And then like she puts her face up against this one thing, and then it like, I don't know, it sparks, and she sort of flies back a bit, and then all of a sudden you see her one eye like fall into the thing.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know what that movie was, but it also took me years to find. Don't look in the basement.
Okay, well, that's all right.
So I'll be damned if I let this one elude me too.
Well, just type in random searches and eventually something will hit. The two types of zombie reflect soul dualism, which is a belief of Haitian voodoo. Each type of legendary zombie is therefore missing one half of its soul. It's either missing the flesh or the spirit. Okay. So that's interesting. The zombie belief has its roots in traditions brought to Haiti by enslaved Africans. It was thought that the voodoo deity Baron Samedi would gather them from their grave to bring them to a heavenly afterlife in Africa unless they had offended him in some way, in which case they would be forever a slave after death as a zombie. A zombie could also be saved by feeding them salt. English professor Amy...
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, oh yeah. I have.
Huh.
English professor Amy Willents has written that the modern concept of zombies was strongly influenced by Haitian slavery. Slave drivers on the plantations, who were usually slaves themselves and sometimes voodoo priests, used the fear of zombification to discourage slaves from committing suicide. That's kind of messed up.
You hit house.
It'd be all right. It's a piece of paper. It is not going to hurt him. The Haitian zombie phenomenon first attracted widespread international attention during the United States occupation of Haiti, and that was from 1915 to 1934, when a number of case histories of purported zombies began to emerge. The first popular book covering the topic was William Seabrook's The Magic Island. That was in 1929. Seabrook cited Article 246 of the Haitian Criminal Code, which was passed in 1864, asserting that it was an official recognition of zombies. Oh. This passage was later used in promotional materials for the 1932 film White Zombie. And the Penal Code says, also shall be qualified as attempted murder the employment of which may be made by any person of substances which, without causing actual death, produce a lethargic coma more or less prolonged. If after the administration of such substances the person has been buried, the act shall be considered murder, no matter what results follow.
Dang.
So in other words, it's illegal to make a zombie.
Well, no shit.
Well, it's on paper. It's on paper. Yeah, so that's Article 246 of the Haitian Criminal Code. Well, I think it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We don't have one of those in our laws. In 1937, while researching folklore in Haiti, Zora Neale Hurston encountered a case of a woman who had appeared in a village, and a family claimed that she was Felicia Felix Mentor, a relative who had died and been buried in 1907 at the age of 29. The woman was examined by a doctor. X-rays indicated that she did not have a leg fracture that Felix Mentor was known to have had. Hurston perused rumors that affected persons were given a powerful psychoactive drug, but she was unable to locate individuals willing to offer much information. Well, no kidding. Yeah. It's not like you give away zombie-making secrets there.
Exactly.
I mean, if they won't give away the
you have to give money
KFC recipe, what makes you think that they're going to give away zombie formulas?
Oh, I want KFC.
Yeah.
Get me KFC.
Well, we don't. I ain't driving to Marion this time of night. Anyhow, this researcher wrote, what is more, if science ever gets to the bottom of voodoo in Haiti and Africa, it will be found that some important medical secrets, still unknown to medical science, give its power rather than gestures of ceremony, end quote. Several decades later, Wade Davis, a Canadian ethnobotanist, presented a pharmacological case for zombies in 2 books, The Serpent and the Rainbow and Passage of Darkness, the ethnobiology of the Haitian zombie. Ooh. Davis traveled to Haiti in 1982 and as a result of his investigations claimed that a living person can be turned into a zombie by 2 special powders being entered into the bloodstream, usually through a wound. The first is French for powder strike, inducing a death-like state because of a certain toxin. It's actually tetrodotoxin.
I feel like I've seen that happen in a movie or something.
That was The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Oh.
And for folks, if you have not seen that movie, it is intense. So I very much encourage anybody to go and watch The Serpent and the Rainbow. And it was supposed to be based on this man going over there trying to find out what these drugs were. You know, these ingredients.
Yeah.
And
Didn't he get, turned into?
He did. Tetrodotoxin is the same lethal toxin found in fugu.
The pufferfish.
Absolutely. And near lethal doses of this can leave a person in a state of near death for several days while the person continues to be conscious.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Don't eat fugu.
Don't eat the fugu.
I mean, you can eat fugu if it's made by a professional that actually knows how to do that without it getting, toxic or whatever.
Dead.
Yeah.
If you don't eat it, if you're going to be dead.
Well, they'll know how not to kill you.
You really, sometimes, even some of the other ones, the professional chefs, and it's like, oops.
Yeah.
Killed that
Imagine
one.
it's that one time that you just fucked up. It's like, oop. My bad. Sorry.
Anyhow, the second powder
we
composed...
no longer serve fugu to the
Really. The second powder composed of dissociatives like datura put the person in a zombie-like state where they seem to have no will of their own. I thought that was called TV.
I thought that was called the internet.
Well, the internet too. TikTok.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube.
Davis also popularized the story of Clairvis Narcissi, who was claimed to have succumbed to the practice. There remains considerable skepticism about Davis's claims, and opinions remain divided as to the veracity of his work, although there is wide recognition among the Haitian people of the existence of the zombie drug. Others have discussed the contribution of the victim's own belief system, possibly leading to compliance with the attacker's will, causing psychogenic, sort of a quasi-hysterical amnesia, catatonia, or other psychological disorders, which are later misinterpreted as a return from the dead. Now, there's a vast difference between, even if somebody is having some of these things psychologically, most of them will still respond to pain stimuli.
Yeah.
Not all of them. That's like the catatonia and stuff like that, but,
Mm-hmm.
Scottish psychiatrist R.D. Lang further highlighted the link between social and cultural expectations and compulsion in the context of schizophrenia and other mental illness, suggesting that schizogenesis may account for some of the psychological aspects of zombification. So we know that how much belief systems can affect anything, everything.
Right.
If somebody, there is, didn't we talk about that phenomenon one time where people thought they were dead?
Yes.
It's been a while back, but I do remember doing the research on that.
There are not only people that think that they're dead, but everything around them is fake.
That's, yeah.
I think everything is fake.
Don't let those people watch The Matrix. That would put them over the edge. I mean, there's times all of us sit there and question that. It's like, okay, what if we really are in some kind of video game or something?
It's like external crisis, what is it?
Existential crisis.
Yes,
I question my existence lots, like daily.
Yeah, same.
Okay, but exactly how did zombies go mainstream? And again, going back to Romero in 1968, Night of the Living Dead, and somehow he combined a zombie and a vampire, and he got this hybrid plague monster, because it is a plague monster.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And this was a new apocalyptic vision of monsters that have come to be known as Romero zombies. Do your thing. You keep leaning in. It's freaking me out.
I could name off so many zombie movies and so many games that involve zombies.
Well, I will give you an opportunity to here in just a minute.
Like it's the Night of the Living Dead, Shaun of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead, 24 Days Later, something else.
Shaun of the Dead was
Shaun of the Dead was funny.
God, it's a great movie. That's
Resident
my favorite
Evil.
one.
Brain Dead, Dead Enders.
I don't know.
Innards,
Don't look at
whatever.
me. I don't do the games other than those little match 3 things. Are you ready?
I mean, Silent Hill technically has zombies in it, but they're not quite. They're just monsters.
I don't know. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times chided theater owners and parents who allowed children access to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And he stated, I don't think the younger kids really knew what hit them. They were used to going to movies, sure, and they'd seen some horror movies before, sure, but this was something else, end quote. And according to Ebert, the film affected the audience immediately. He further stated the kids in the audience were stunned. There was almost complete silence. The movie had stopped being delightfully scary about halfway through and had become unexpectedly terrifying. There was a little girl across the aisle from me, maybe 9 years old, who was sitting very still in her seat and crying. End quote.
Yes.
That's when you know that's
cry.
like success.
Yes.
I mean, really, who would take a 9-year-old to that? Of course, this was before the rating system, honestly.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's amazing how those things have changed, because what was once was rated R is now like either prime time or Nick Jr., depending. I mean, seriously.
There's no stuff that would be considered rated R. Nick Jr., are you kidding me?
I'm joking.
Go to Adult Swim for that.
I'm joking. I'm sorry, I forgot to speak binary code with you. Anyhow, Romero's reinvention of zombies is notable in terms of its thematics. He used zombies not just for their own sake, but as a vehicle to, quote, criticize real-world social ills, such as government ineptitude, bioengineering, slavery, greed, exploitation, while indulging our post-apocalyptic fantasies, end quote.
Interesting, but I also feel like that's just to be like, I just wanted to make a movie about...
You remember me telling you about art?
Yes, it's just about the bullshit.
Absolutely. It's 1% talent, 99% bullshit.
Let's face it, he just wanted to make a movie where dead people started crawling out of their graves and eating people, and he had to put a meaning behind it, and so he just made that shit up.
Absolutely. It's just like... It's bullshit. Now, one of the sites, this is pretty cool, traits of a classic zombie, as opposed to a non-classic zombie?
Yeah, there's a difference between classic zombies and non-classics, and like modern zombies.
Okay, you got like rogue zombies or something like that don't follow the rules? Alright.
Yeah, like rogue zombies, there are some that are called runners.
Okay.
There are some that end up like they're bloated and so they sort of explode.
We went through that the other day. That's where the Grim Reaper needs to, they need to go through and poke them with a stick. You can fix that. Now, you've been given the tools by watching these videos that you know how to deal with a bloated zombie.
Yeah, you poke it.
Poke it with a stick. Anyhow, popular culture depictions of zombies have evolved into a relatively consistent archetype, generally consistent with the Romero zombie and characterized by the following traits. A body comprised of a deceased, a body comprised of a deceased human that has subsequently reanimated, usually because of a viral infection occurring in the brain while the body was still living. So they became infected. Reduced speed of movement relative to normal humans. However, some recent theatrical depictions of the zombies portrayed them as moving fast, as fast as a healthy human, or even faster. Well, that goes against all of zombie lore. It really does. This is possibly due to their decaying muscles or lack of adrenaline. Increased endurance is another characteristic to normal humans. Sometimes, or some sources attribute this to removal of normal neurological limits to muscle endurance. Well, yeah, because if you're dead, your body just don't work too good anymore.
Yeah.
Profoundly reduced or absent cognitive function. Zombies may have impaired eyesight, hearing, or smell. However, they are known to be attracted by bright lights or loud noises, possibly meaning that they may instead be highly sensitive to them. Some even believe that zombies are attracted to anything that makes noise, which is widely supported and seen in films and media like The Walking Dead and even in Night of the Living Dead. So let's blast them with a little heavy metal and see how they function after that. Okay, an insatiable and endless desire to consume living animal flesh, usually human. We are humans. There's a difference between the humans and the animals.
Why do you eat people?
Not people. Brains.
Well, it says sometimes favoring brains. Some depict zombies simply possessing the desire to kill or spread the disease. Okay, lack of Norman. That's always a bad thing for any of us to have.
Norman fucking Rockwell.
Lack of normal human biological functions such as sleep, digestion, sexual function, or cardiac function. Lack of normal human biological requirements such as conventional food, sleep, or even oxygen. All right, supernatural resistance or immunity to traumatic injury of any part of the body except for the brain. This is mainly due to the death of the nerves, which makes them unable to experience pain or irritation. Well, they're always irritated.
Oh my god, that was false and
Return of the Living Dead. Just what they said.
And now, Return of the Living Dead is truly a movie in all of its own, though, even though it does involve zombies. But they were in pain, and the way that they could relieve the pain was eating people's brains.
Okay, so it's some kind of neurotransmitter that they needed.
Even though they were all literally, they could feel themselves rotting.
Well, yeah.
Words by the table corpse lady.
Okay. Well,
and torso lady.
So there was quite a bit of self-awareness with the zombies, wasn't there?
In Return of the Living Dead, yeah, sort of.
Okay, they're vulnerable only to attacks that remove the head or destroy the brain. Some zombies are depicted to also be vulnerable to powerful attacks, crushing of the body, high-caliber shot. See, that would be my favorite right there. Which also kills them outright, but the simplest way still is to destroy the brain. All right, they have high aggression and little intelligence and has some of the traits of a rabid person. That sounds like some professional sports people. Anyhow, ignores or is oblivious to fellow zombies, so they have self-awareness but lack of awareness of others. You're speechless.
Return of the Living Dead logic is not the logic of all zombie movies.
I didn't write this. This is somebody else's. I'm going to provide the description there. In some depictions, zombies can be seen eating each other if there is a lack of humans, as was the case in the video game Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City.
That's a good game.
That's a good game. I haven't finished it yet, but it's from what I've played. It's a good game.
However, the zombies still seem to favor humans. They will stop eating each other if a human gets too close. Well, I mean, at a certain point, that's, you know.
Yeah, they got fresh meat.
Well, no, just sit back and watch until they can, you know, destroy each other. And that's it.
I mean, they can beat doors down, break them.
Oh, that's hilarious. How did that happen?
I don't know, but I mean, it was like fire!
Yeah. I don't know if you... I will leave part of that in because that was a good save by Kid so that we didn't catch fire. I mean, that was just so random. We have no idea what moved, why it moved, but glad that Kid has better reflexes than I do. That was interesting. It was interesting.
Like, literally, I'm like, oh God, fire!
I think that's Frankenstein that's truly afraid of the fire.
I ain't afraid of the fire, but I don't want our house to catch on fire.
No, that would be bad. Not today. Let's not do that today. Anyhow, we've been talking about, like, these other types of zombies. What I'm going to be talking about, this is real.
Dead Island is also a good zombie movie. They are fast, though, in that game. Holy hell, they are fast, and they are a bitch to kill.
Let me talk about the real zombies. This is the part that I have researched. I started researching this in 2013. This is Toxoplasma gondii.
You talked about that many times.
Yeah, it has. I have. I was obsessed with it. I have been obsessed with Toxoplasma gondii, the study thereof, for a while because it is so bizarre. And what this is, Toxoplasma gondii is a parasite. And I'm just going to go through here and give some... Rather than go into the truly scientific part, I will include this as one of the wiki things. Mm-hmm. What it is that this parasite goes into rats. It goes into their gut. And it makes them fearless. Instead of them smelling cat urine and running away, which would be the smart thing to do, these mice go looking for the cats. Because they're now zombies.
And they become aggressive towards cats?
They make themselves a target with the objective being that the cat eats them. Because this is part of the parasite its cycle.
But what happens if you have one that like a pet rat or whatever that has it, and then it befriends the cats, and
that doesn't happen,
and the cats like absolutely have
no, that doesn't happen. That's the whole thing. This is the whole point of them being infected, is how it changes their behavior. The objective of the parasite is for the cat to consume the rat, then through the cycles of the parasite, it is a matter of being, I don't know, somehow in the cat's gut, it goes through the different stages, comes out in cat feces. This is why it is important to clean your litter box. It's not so much found in indoor kitties because they're not exposed to it, but the indoor-outdoor kitties that do go out and chase and catch mice, then they very much could be contaminated with the Toxoplasma gondii. And like I said, 1 to 3 days, after 3 days you should be, I mean, my God, your litter box would probably be crazy anyhow. But it does not become, where humans, it does not become transmissible to humans until usually after the 3 days. Wash your hands with soap and water all the time, people.
Wash your fucking hands.
Okay, now within this, and a lot of times toxoplasmosis, people have heard about it affecting pregnant women. And it can cause birth defects and different things like that. What they don't often hear about is the behavioral problems and changes in people.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this parasite is it goes for the dopamine receptors. So it makes me believe there is some kind of an intelligence there.
It has to be.
It has to be. You know, and it's interesting.
Speaking of dopamine, look at Hilo.
Yes, I see him. He is snoring. He's a good kitty. With as far as there's a difference between when men become infected with Toxoplasma gondii versus females, and in men it had a tendency to make them reckless, whereas women it had a tendency to make them remarkably kind. So think about the crazy cat lady thing.
What do you mean reckless? Like, elaborate on that.
Like there's actually studies been shown that these people have more difficulty, they have more wrecks, more aggressive. There's actually there's studies that suggest that there's a link between Toxoplasma gondii and schizophrenia. I think there was another one that I read down through here that's possibly also people that were bipolar had a higher it was a reaction to it, so that they were, that they had been infected at one point. I think it was like 1/3 of the population of the planet, has been exposed to it. But for most people, they don't even know it.
Yeah.
So
you and I could be infected and we don't even know.
Oh, well, it's one of those that I have been, trust me, I'm not one of the overly kind, I may be a crazy cat lady, but I'm not one of them that's overly kind.
And I'm not that reckless.
But within this,
I'm usually very careful about stuff.
It can include poor impulse control, personality, and neurocognitive deficits. So that's kind of significant. And of course, you've always got people that no matter what research is done to prove whatever, you've got somebody else that's going, oh no, this is not it.
Even though they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground.
Well, that's the thing about science, true science, to sit there, it has to be, replicable.
Yeah.
That each and every time that an experiment is performed, that you get the same results. That's where you're eventually going to get a fact.
Hi, flat earthers.
Don't get those people on our cases. I do. No. Anyhow, so I think that it's freaked me out that you've got these parasitic things that apparently have some kind of an intelligence. They have an agenda. Mm-hmm. And it was like the cordyceps mushrooms. Those things are horrifying.
I don't think
those. Yeah, go look for the cordyceps. They're just...
Are they local?
I think those were the ones that attacked the wasps.
The mushrooms?
Yes.
Wasps? Damn, those are my friends.
I mean, it's kind of horrifying how that happens.
Do they attack people?
No, actually, cordyceps can be beneficial to people at certain different conditions.
They kill wasps. I need to put some up there at the cabin because there's a wasps thing right in the door.
Right. Well, they're, like I said. Anyhow, I'm going to include a link. I have watched this video many times over the years, and this is Robert Sapolsky, and he is a neuroendocrinology researcher and author, currently a professor of biology and also a professor of neurology and neurological sciences at Stanford. I mean, he is just an amazing person. But his interview about toxoplasmosis, and anybody can understand it. I mean, he puts it just plain language. He doesn't talk over anybody's head, and it's incredible.
Yeah, sometimes you talk over top of my head, and I'm like, what?
That's because I'm standing up when I'm speaking. So, zombies. Are they real? Absolutely. All you have to do is just look around.
Look at someone who spends their time on a computer or video games 24/7.
Well,
like literally 24/7.
If somebody does not have the ability to think for themselves and are constantly under the control of someone else, is that not a zombie?
It is. It is.
Yeah. So,
I wish these cats were
yeah,
zombies.
it's interesting.
I would like to control these cats.
But yeah, the zombies, and the house didn't burn, and it's a good night. So
not only would my doll have burned, my canvas would have burned, the house would have burst into flames.
We have no idea what happened. We were just sitting here, and it was just all of a sudden, there it goes.
I was worried that was going to happen a couple nights ago with the other Living Dead dolls up there.
I don't know.
Like, and finally it happened, and I'm like, you see why I'm worried about them being near the candle? Lit candle.
Nobody died.
That doll costed me money.
Nobody died. It was a good night. We didn't have to shoot anybody in the head or any of that stuff.
No.
So anyhow, if you've had experiences with paranormal, supernatural, encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, zombies, oh my God, Toxoplasma gondii peoples,
Yeah.
you can actually get tested for Toxoplasma gondii.
We should do that just for shits.
I had Michael tested for it in 2014.
You and I should do that just for shits
And,
giggles.
you know, with the fact that it is a parasite, there are quite a few things that are touted. We've had anti-parasitic things in the news lots lately.
Eat your damn pumpkin seeds.
Yeah, that actually can help with the parasites. Historically, that and wormwood,
It's a
cloves, yeah, different things like that. So it's different herbs and stuff like that are for specific parasites. Historically, I am not a doctor. I do not play one on TV. So anyhow, if you've got any of those things, email us cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And yeah, don't be a zombie, folks. Be a zombie hunter. Be a zombie killer.
Zombinis.
Zombies. That sounds like something you wear on your head. That is including, pepperoni and tomato sauce.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with beanies. I'm fine with beanie weenies.
Anyhow, folks, you all, thank you for spending time with us, having coffee with us.
Yeah.
Hopefully we've brought a little mirth and maybe some education to your day. Know that you're very loved. And we'll see you on the next cup. Bye.
Subscribe, damn it.